Hello, and welcome to another edition of the Spooky Show. Now, tonight I haven't got Dan. He's sadly not very well. So you're left with me. And I would like to introduce to you a lovely lady, not just a paranormal investigator, medium extraordinaire, let me say. She's also a good friend, and her name is Lynda BBrookes. So welcome, Lynda. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Viv, and thank you for the lovely invite to your show. I'm really looking forward to tonight.
Oh, do you know what? It's been a long time coming. We needed a catch up. It's been
I know
it long.
It has been way too long.
It has. Now, I want to start. Hey, Lo is in the chat. Oh, she is. She's hopefully going to mod for us tonight. Look after things in the chat while she's studying as well. So she's multitasking tonight.
Oh, bless her.
I want to start with your spiritual journey, because not a lot of people realise that you're actually you're not just a medium, you're a bloody good one, if I do say so myself. And you've done so much within that side of things. Take away the paranormal for a minute. You've actually come and progress pretty quickly, which I'm absolutely thrilled about. Where did it all start for you with the spiritual side of things?
I've always been able to see spirit right from a very early age, and I think myself, I didn't understand really what I was actually seeing. Obviously, being a young child, I was trying to figure out why no one else in my family ever saw these people. Even though, I used to ask them frequently, are you seeing who's just walked in the room? And everyone just looked baffled as if I was not,
Yeah.
Who is it you're seeing? Because no one else can see this person. And I sort of used to get a little freaked out with it. My grandmother, who was a very good medium as well, and I think I got that gift from her. She was able to communicate, see spirit, and talk to them regularly.
Yeah.
And of course, when she realized that I was also having the same abilities, she was quite good to take me under her wing, because obviously back then, years ago, you couldn't talk to anyone about that sort of thing, unless you were going to end up in the loony bin. And they'd all think that you were crazy, that you need locking up and throwing the key away. And thankfully, she was able to put my fears at rest in regards to what I was seeing. And she used to always say to me, look, do not fear the dead. It's the living you need to be worried about. And I always remember that right from a very early age. She sort of drilled that into me. Please don't be worried and frightened of them. They mean you no harm. They're not here to do anything. They just want someone to talk to. And because I started getting comfortable, I would say, in regards to spirit coming to me and talking to me, and albeit they wake me up all hours of the day and night to actually, talk to them and communicate, I found that I was a lot more comfortable in talking to them, just like I'm talking to you. So it sort of alleviated all those fears that I had initially. And I think as time's gone on, those fears obviously have well and truly gone out the window now. I'm not anywhere in that category like I was when I was a child. But my first major thing that really shifted me big time with my abilities was when I seen my first proper full apparition spirit at the age of 7. He would come to me in my house where we lived. He'd come into my bedroom. He'd wake me up every single night. And I just couldn't understand why, he kept coming every single night, waking me up. I thought there must be some reason, because no matter what I'm saying, it's not appeasing him. It's not doing what the rest of them do, and that's go and don't come back. There are obviously something else going on here. And obviously I was trying to figure it out as best I could. And it was sort of no way was it actually unfolding what the reasons were for it. And anyway, it was sort of coming to my dad, who was very skeptical at the time, bless him, when he was alive. He didn't believe in spirit. He thought, that once you were gone, you were gone. There was nothing beyond that sort of realm. And one night, this apparition of this male had actually gone into his bedroom, sat on his bed and started breathing on him. And I think that changed my dad's perspective a little bit, not to say the least. Because straight away,
just getting me lead. I'm plugging you in because
right, plug me in. Yeah, so obviously he then realised that there was something going on in the house, that what I was telling him wasn't all gibberish, there was something going on that he didn't understand and I couldn't comprehend either. To cut a long story short, after him coming several times, we ended up deciding to move because he got too comfortable with coming so close to us, and it freaked my dad out completely. It freaked him out what was going on with what he was going to do with me. Was he going to drag me out of bed? And obviously at that time there was all sorts of things on the TV that were filling people's head full of notions about what spirit do. And obviously, when we did move, when I got a bit older, my grandmother actually said, right, I think I need to sit down and tell you about what was going on in that time period when you were seeing that male spirit. And I think I think you'll understand why he kept coming back to you. And it turned out he was a living person. He did exist. He lived in that house before we moved in there. He lived with his wife and his children. His younger daughter took swimming one day. She went in at the shallow end, dived in and hit her head on the bottom of the pool, which killed her instantly, basically. And because she was the same age as I was, it sort of like brought that memory back to him. So that it triggered him to keep coming back because he didn't see me as me. He was seeing me as his daughter. And of course, at that time I had no idea what had happened. And obviously my grandmother very much did know what was going on because she was the person who found him. He'd actually hung himself on the back of my bedroom door. He'd committed suicide because he couldn't live with guilt of what had happened to his daughter. He felt responsible for her death. His wife was severely disabled at that time and very much bedbound. And she wasn't able, obviously, to go and find out where her husband was. He'd come home from work. My grandmother helped him look after his wife. She'd go home, come home from work. She'd go in, check on his wife. Then she'd go in and sort herself out. And obviously my grandfather. And then her husband would always give a knock on the wall with a stick to say, yes, I'm back in. Everything's okay. And that was their signal, knocking on the wall. And of course, one particular evening, his wife never knocked on the wall. He didn't hear him knock on the wall. And of course, she got a bit concerned, because that was normally always a repetitive signal. Anyway, out of the blue, then at a certain time period when, that time had slipped, the wife had knocked on the wall to get my grandmother's attention, and she knew which bedroom it was coming from. She knew it was her. And she thought, that's odd because she very, very rarely knocks unless she needs something. But he would have come around and fetched me, her husband. So why is he knocking on the wall? And she knew he was home from work at that point. So, of course, with her frantically knocking on the wall for help, my grandmother eventually went around next door to the house. She'd obviously got a key to let herself in and everything. Went in, the house was in complete darkness. She thought, well, that's odd because lights would have been on by now. He's home. Where is he? Anyway, of course, she checked all the rooms downstairs, no sign of him. Went up to the upstairs. Obviously went to see the wife. She says, I don't know where he's gone to. He's not come in with my cup of tea like he usually does at a certain time. And I haven't seen him. And I'm in darkness, can you go and find out what's happened to him? And of course, my grandmother knew there was only one other room in the whole house that she had to check. And that was the bedroom opposite the landing. And of course, she was dreading to go in and find out. She already knew there's something going on. And I don't like the feeling of what I'm thinking has gone on. And of course, when she went to try and open the bedroom door with him hanging on the back of it, she pushed it with his weight, obviously behind it. Didn't make it easy for her to open it. But when she did knock it finally through a little bit, she heard his shoes banging on the back of it. So she knew. So obviously then she had to literally try and force herself into the actual room, and then realised when she looked at him, he'd obviously gone. And she had to then go and cut him down and get help. So, and that made sense then to me why he kept coming back. It was familiar territory. He lived there. I reminded him of his daughter, and I think it was just a case of he was just looking to be reunited somehow or another. Whether he ever got reunited with his daughter, I don't know. But obviously, I'd been to his grave to sort of make my peace and say, I'm sorry, I now understand why you were kept coming back. You weren't coming to frighten me. You were coming to try and talk to me. But obviously, I didn't know that at the time. I was too young. So that was my first encounter with spirit. And it's been like a roller coaster ride ever since. My house is like a revolving door. Once one comes in, it's like the queuing.
I think it's brilliant. I think it's brilliant though that you've sort of walked down that pathway. I mean, I've known you for quite a few years, let's say.
Yes, you have. Yeah.
But I think it's absolutely fantastic that you've gone down that pathway, as well as others. We'll leave the others out of it for a minute, because I think there's not enough good people that walk that spiritual path. No, I'm saying it wrong. They're all good, but a lot of them have a lot of egos, let's say, where you want clean cut people that go down that spiritual path and bring good to others, which is what you're doing. You do that a lot, and I want to say personally, thank you for doing that.
Oh, thank you.
It means a lot. I'm getting a bit choked up because I want to talk about Derek.
Yeah.
And the work that you did with him.
Yes.
Do you want to just enlighten everybody a little bit what you did with Derek and how that come about? Because I thought that was absolutely magical and fantastic.
You talk about the radio show that I was on with him. Yes. Well, basically, it just came out of the blue. I don't know. Probably it was divine intervention. Who knows? But I'd actually always wanted to meet Derek personally, and obviously I've never had an opportunity. There's always been something that we've never actually got together, so to speak. And it was just one day out of the blue, I'd got a phone call from Paul, who was doing the radio show with them at the time. And Paul said, well, Derek's asked me to get in touch with you to find out if you would be so kind to come on the radio show. And I'm like, oh, of course I'd come on. I've been dying to have a chat with Derek. Of course I would come on. And yeah, we really got on very well, and he thoroughly enjoyed the chat. We had a good chat after the show as well. And it's funny because he actually told me that I would at some point in time have to make a decision as to which path I would like to take, because he knew I did obviously paranormal investigating. He also knew I had mediumistic abilities as well. And he said, you might not be able to have both at the same time. You might have to choose. I'm like, I don't want to choose. I want to keep both.
Yeah.
Why do I have to choose?
You don't.
But yeah, so it was an extremely pleasant chat. I love the chat that we had, and we finally did have a chance to meet up when he did Sanai House investigation some months later. Which was really nice to meet him in person. It was nice, a nice crowd of people that were there. The investigation was brilliant, and it was really nice just to actually see him in person as well. You can never really forget about that moment when you do. It's one that holds into everyone's heart. I would say that's met Derek. He's one of those people that once you've been touched by him, you never forget him. He's always there in your heart. And when I found obviously out that he'd passed, my heart was just in bits. I was so saddened to hear the news because he's such a lovely man. And he's missed by so many. And I don't think anyone will ever forget him, that's met him. And certainly, his wife, bless her, Gwen, it must leave a massive hole in her heart every single day, I can imagine, but, I know he's looking after her where he is and making sure that she's well cared for and well looked after. But it's never the same not seeing them in the physical, no matter whether they come in visitation or not. It's never the same.
No, I mean, he was taken far too quickly, wasn't he, as well? It happened so quick.
It did. Yeah, it did. And I think that's the sad part about it. It is when it does happen quick like that. No one, I mean, even though when you're prepared for it, it's still a sad thing, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But you have some leadway to lead up to say what you need to say when you need to say it. And obviously Gwen was robbed of that, with the quickness and how he passed. I would imagine there was a load of things that they wanted to say to each other at that point in time that they never got around to doing because obviously they didn't think anything was going to happen so quick. Like that.
Exactly.
So yeah, and it's a terrible thing. I mean, it's so many people have been in the same boat, haven't they, since the COVID situation and that. It's shocking.
Yeah. Now, you're doing readings and things like that, aren't you?
I am, yes.
Now, I want to talk about, don't talk about, because people's readings are private. We understand that. But I want you to, just for those non-believers out there, just give us an instance where a reading meant so much to one person and what actually happened in a roundabout way in that reading that you can think about.
I think it might have been one lady that really does stick out to mind. she'd been to countless other mediums for no end of readings. I mean, the amount she was going to was ridiculous, to be quite honest. And I did say to her, I think what you're searching for will never come, because the fact you're just wanting it so much. And I says, often that's usually the thing that stops a message coming through. I says, because the fact you just want it so badly, it often puts the blockers on as much as it welcomes it, and that's a lot of people don't understand that when I say that to them, but it does, and I do know that from obviously speaking to spirit on a regular basis, as well as my own guides as well. But she was wanting one specific information that no one else had been able to pick up in relation to her husband. And it all surrounded about an item that had been belonged to her husband, that somebody had that shouldn't have had when he passed. And of course, no one could actually say where this item was. The person who had it, it was a pocket watch, the item was. Obviously, it had been passed down from his father to her husband. And obviously, generations probably before that, it was a very old, antique pocket watch. It meant a lot to her, obviously, sentimentally. But obviously, the family thought, well, it's worth a bit, the value of it was more important to some people, sadly. And obviously, when they had the wake and everything, the pocket watch was on display. And when the wake had finished, the pocket watch had gone. So obviously, she knew the people in the house that were there, and obviously she could account for every one of them and knew whether they were telling the truth about what happened to the pocket watch. And obviously she didn't want to go flying accusations out the window, because she had her own suspicions, but she could never get anything concretely come through from her husband to say, I seen whoever it was that took the watch. And it turned out when she came to me, her husband was right next to her. It's all like they both walked in sync into the room, and I'm like, right, this is going to be interesting, because normally I'd have to link it in. He'd actually come with her. It was almost like, I'm determined she's going to know the truth, sort of thing. And anyway, with that, then when she did come, and obviously I'd done some reading with her, and I said to her, I thought, I don't know whether she is aware that the gentleman was all the time with her, until he got his story straight. And she says, I do feel that he's around, but I don't see him or feel him or anything. But she says, it's nice because you're more or less saying the same as every other medium said, that he's around me. And I says, yes, probably so. But I says, there's a reason why he's around. He's not around just for the heck of it. He's around because he wants you to know about this pocket watch. Well, her face went, it was like white as a sheet. Pocket watch. And I'm like, well, yeah, that's why he's here. He's wanting you to find the truth out about who took the pocket watch. And it's not who you think it is that's took it either. And she was just blown away. She was like, I can't believe you brought the pocket watch up. Every medium I've been to has never even mentioned the pocket watch. They just touch on just various little bits and pieces, but things that I would already know, but nothing about the item that I'm looking to find answers about. So I was quite perplexed. I thought, oh, well, that's a good thing, that obviously he's here for that reason. He's wanting her to know. And it turned out it was her own daughter that took the pocket watch. And he wasn't best pleased at all, because she took it, and all she did with it was chuck it into a kitchen drawer, where your cabinets are. She just flung it in there as if it meant nothing, but she wanted it because she knew it was worth value, and she took it for that reason. And
but
of course,
the mystery got solved, though.
It did, yes. I mean, obviously, she's like, are you sure that might, because obviously she was in disbelief, because this person that she would never think of accusing was her own daughter. You wouldn't, would you? And I says, he's quite adamant, you need to go around to her property. I told her which drawer to look in, because I said, he's showing me where it is. He's going to go with you to make sure that, if he'll give you the nudge to look in it, if you find that you've forgotten which drawer it is. I says, but it is in that drawer, believe you me, because he's shown me there. And of course, when she went around to her daughter, she actually messaged me about 2 weeks after. I'd completely forgot about the reading, because obviously what comes in, it's not for me to keep, I'll just give it as I get the information through. And she said, that pocket watch that you'd mentioned on my reading, I had to think, and I think, did I say pocket watch? I can't remember. But anyway, as it turned out, she says, where you said it was in the drawer, it actually was, and it was in my daughter's property, and I've now got it back.
Oh, bless her.
And she was mad up. She actually showed me a picture of it as well. She took a photo of it and sent it me over, and she says, that's the pocket watch. And I did describe it the way it looked as well, because it had got
cool
very
is that, though? How cool is that?
It's great validation. I mean, I don't question anything that I get from spirit, because I'm so trusting of them, because I know what they're giving me is accurate because of the amount of times they've validated it. And I do always say, I will ask, don't lie to me. I will ask, I will find out, because at the end of the day, it's important that information is accurate, as much, not just from my point of view and giving it to the person, also to the sitter that you're delivering it to as well,
exactly.
because these things are, full of emotion and feelings, and the one thing I always say is, do not give me stuff that's going to be inaccurate, and therefore then it's going to obviously cause the sitter that I'm delivering it to be more upset than they were when they walked in, because I just don't think that's fair. But that was really one of the ones that did stand out. I was really amazed with that.
Oh, I think that's wonderful. It's sad,
I was really
at the
pleased
same
for her
time.
because she got her watch back, and I mean that meant the world to her. It was like having him with her, because he wore it every day. He had it all the time on him. So, to her, that was the closest connection she could get to him, was through that pocket watch that he held, for so long. He'd hold it in his hand, just sitting down, So it had obviously his in-depth energy on it. And I think that was the thing that she wanted it for, was the fact that she felt close to him while she held that. It was like it united him in some way, It was a lovely story. She was a lovely lady too,
We got a question in the chat.
Oh, right. Questions.
So I think this is skipping straight to the paranormal side of things.
Oh, right. No problem.
So Lois has asked, where's your favourite place to explore?
Gosh, favourite place. I don't think I've actually got a favourite place, to be quite honest, because I love exploring all of them. I just love going into any building. It doesn't matter whether it's got a load of history to it or it hasn't. I still enjoy going into them and just reading what the building's got to say, the history of the building, and also the spirits that are actually, whether they're residual, they're active, if they're active, what they're doing there, and to get some story, backed up story from them. So, I enjoy every one of them that I go into. And I always find that every one of them has got a different story to tell as well. So, I enjoy that part of it, definitely, because I think sometimes they don't always get the opportunity to say what they want to do, because not everyone will actually be able to communicate that strongly with them,
I had the pleasure of exploring a haunted property with you and your son, many years ago now, in Liverpool.
Yes.
And we had so much fun together, our little group.
Oh, we did.
I hold that investigation here in my heart, because it was so funny.
I always remember it.
With your son as well. Oh, he had me in hysterics. He was so funny. Which it built up the energy.
Oh, it did. It absolutely did. And I think that's a good thing too, because obviously no matter what spirit you ask them to do, they need the energy to do it, and if you don't be able to bring that energy into a building, then you're not going to get anything. It's as simple as that, But I think one thing that did stand out to me was a recent location that we'd actually managed to secure for our team, called Allington Manor at Grantham. That is quite an interesting building, and we'd actually only investigated one time. We're going back again, obviously, in October. But that was the only time we'd investigated ever in the whole time that we'd been looking around Grantham for another location. And it's family owned. It has been family owned, a bit like Home Pierpont Hall throughout their generations as well. And we had an amazing night, I can tell you. I mean, I was blown away, and I think the guests that were with me that night were definitely blown away. I'd actually had a spirit manifest, not in full apparition mode this time, but in mist, and it actually got a really nice colour of violet purple to his aura as well. So it sort of like manifested in that way. And I kept saying to everyone, can you see what I'm seeing? Because I want to make sure that you're able to see what I see. And they're like, I could see it. Yeah. And the mouths were wide open because they never had that opportunity to see it. But it actually came in and it was like in full form. Then he sort of like morphed into a worm, almost like a marbly type swirling misty ball. And I said to him, would you be so kind to trust me enough to put your energy in my hand so I can hold your energy there while all these people watch? And he actually did. And that was amazing to actually have that exchange of energy between us both. I thought that was just so amazing. I mean, I've not had ever experienced that with spirit. Obviously, I have them come close to me all the time, but that was a bit more personal than most things I've experienced. And that was a gentleman who had actually come with some of the things that were actually in the building. So he wasn't belonged to the building. He'd travelled with something that was put in there. And he'd actually he was a parish priest going back many years ago. And he'd got his own story to tell, which obviously I'm hoping to get a little bit more of that next time I go. But I thought that was so trusting of him to actually do that in front of people, because often spirit are very shy, believe it or not. They tend not to want to come forward and let other people see them. You know, they're often a bit, oh, you know, I'm not sure, you know, I don't know how they're going to take it, whether they're going to be frightened of me if they see me. So they tend to sort of like only let selective people see him, you know. But this time the whole room seen him, you know, and I thought that was amazing, you know. And even now they still talk about it. Like, I can't wait till we go back there again. I can't wait to see if that same thing happens, you know.
I think people don't realise as well how much energy and effort it takes on behalf of spirit to actually do that as well. You know, and people keep saying, and you hear this, it gets on my nerves, and paranormal investigators say this, they're not performing monkeys. No, they're not. They're actually people in spirit form, you know, and just treat people with respect, and they'll respect you. That's it.
That's right. Absolutely. 100%. And I know what you say, you know, a lot of people, when obviously we're doing our public events, will come in, I guess, and they'll say, right, you know, bang something, slam something, do this, do that. And I'm like, we're not most haunted. It's never going to happen that way. Spirits do not do the things that you see on TV. I'll tell you that now. You know, you can sit in a building for 12 hours straight, and you'll be lucky if you get an actual bang or a tap, you know, but often you don't get anything. You know, it's about building trust up as well. You know, spirit won't, especially in places where either they've not been investigated before, or if they have, they've not had the right type of investigation done. So they're like, oh God, here we go again, another bunch of idiots calling out, and I'm not doing that. I'm not playing ball. Sorry, I'm off out, you know. It takes time to build that trust up with spirit. And once that you do build the trust up, when they do see that you're not the same as everyone else, you know, that your intentions are different, you know, then you will find that they will start coming forward a lot quicker. And obviously, my belief, obviously, with what I know from talking to my guides, and obviously talking to spirit people a lot as well, is word does get out there. They know who's the right people to go to and who aren't, which is probably a good thing, really, in hindsight, because, you know, it'd be a bit of a worry if they go to some of them who are, you know, in my eyes, not really proper paranormal investigators, you know, not to be doing the things that they are doing, you know, in the way that they investigate. Definitely not. But
I must admit, I'm going to talk about your son again. Because he intrigued me, because in Liverpool, where we were at that location, you know, he was more for his gadgets and things like that. And he was brilliant. But we was in a part of that building, well, it's quite a big building, let's just say this. And he said to me, you know, there's a dog down here. I've just seen a dog. I was like, yeah. No, he hasn't seen a dog. He said, no, definitely. He goes, can you not smell it? He's going, smell dog. He said, there's a dog in it. And I thought he was just mucking around, you know, like as they do. And it wasn't until some weeks later I found out that other people were seeing this dog, and this dog was very much part of the haunting in this place. And I thought, well, he actually did see this dog. But it was the way he was putting it across, like, he made you feel at ease. It was like, oh yeah, there's a dog over there. It's like, what? There's a dog. Don't worry about that. There's a dog over there. It's like, what dog? It's like, he just like, it was like, just, you know, don't worry about it. There's a dog over there. He just run over. And I just thought how refreshing that was, you know, because he saw the dog, he experienced the dog, but he didn't make a big thing out of it. It was just letting you know, and that was it. And I thought, you know what? These are the memories that you carry. You know, when you go out with different investigators, you always. But there was that one with him, though. I will always think back to that and think that was so funny with the dog incident. You know, I was like, nah, you know, he's mucking around, and then to find out there really was the dog. I just thought that was it. He just blew me away that night, I must admit. He
Yes,
really
yeah.
did.
He's actually come on a lot more with his ability as well now. He's
Has
seeing a
he?
lot
Good.
more, yeah. Yeah, he's seeing a lot more, and he's not so much all the time with his gadgets now like he was. So, you know, when we do our investigating, even when we're just doing it as team as well as public, we tend to split, going back to basics,
Yeah.
calling out and just listening and feeling and sensing, and open our own senses up to the environment to see what everyone else is picking up, what everyone else is seeing or experiencing,
Yeah.
before we go down the gadget route. So, you know, the gadgets are great, but, you know, if you're wanting to try and a lot of the people that do come on our events have got sensibility, you know, in the sense that they know they've got a sense of spirit. They know that they're feeling somebody's watching them, or they're picking up something, you know, emotionally or otherwise. So obviously they're wanting to explore that in a more smaller teamed investigating. Obviously they've gone on other places where they have a lot more people, and they just find it not able to do what they want to do in it, and trying to bring something out for themselves and have that experience, which is one of the reasons why we actually did our set up our events, where we could do that, give them the opportunity of having smaller groups and having more personal experience in regards of how we can help them to understand a bit more about the spiritual aspect. So that way, then once they understand and have to call out and not just, you know, goofing about and everything, and actually open their own senses up a little bit as well.
Yeah.
As well as grounding and protecting them, so they don't go home with anything from the building
Yes.
at night. You know, all of those things. It's really helped to shift other people. I mean, we've had no end of skeptics that have come on with us, and by the end of the night, they're no longer skeptical. So,
Yeah.
you know,
It's
because
good.
they've had something that they've experienced themselves personally that they can't explain. You know, which is always a good thing, I think. You know, and I think that's better than gadgets going off, because I think they're too easy to explain what's causing them. There's always probably a good majority of the time you can debunk what's causing it. Whereas when it's a personal experience that you're experiencing, no one else is, that's a whole different ball game. It makes
Exactly.
it a lot less easy to debunk as such.
Oh, Lois has asked another question. She says, have you ever had something happen to you you can't explain?
I don't think I have, to be honest. A lot of the time, because I'm so in tune with spirit, I know what they're going to do before they do it. I think there's the only one thing I can think of is we were at the galleries on Saturday last week, doing a public event, and we were in two separate areas. Myself, I was in the laundry area with my guests. Jordan was in, I think he was in the debtor's cell at the time, so he was well out the way. And we had one of the main doors that lead out from the Victorian cells out to the courtyard. We had that slam that hard, it reverberated between our two groups. We all heard it, and everyone's accounted for. That is the only, and I said, I don't know who's done that, which I didn't. I genuinely did not know who'd done that, because I was focused on, at the time, we had a lady and a boy in the area where we were. So I was focused on them, spirit that is. I was focused on them at the time. So my focus wasn't out of the room, so to speak, to gauge who did that. But that was something we couldn't explain, because there was no one around. The door had been propped open as well. So the prop had to be moved out of the way, then slam with force. And you just heard it echo around the whole building. And, you know, straight away, we're like, that's got to be a cell door that's gone. It's got to be a cell door. And I was only saying that to some of the team, that when we did our team walk around before the guests arrived, one of the cell doors I have actually seen slam before when I've been there previously, some years back. So I automatically, I thought, I know that door sound. That sounds to me like it's one of the cell doors. So immediately, obviously, we debunked it was none of us that had done it. No one was walking around. The security guard was at the front desk. So obviously, we went on the hunt to find out what door it was, and whether we could get some confirmation from one of the team members that was last there, whether she'd left it open or shut. And she'd said, no, I left it open. It was propped open, and I had someone witness me to keep that open as well. So it's not just me. Somebody else said, yep, I can back that up, because I was with her when she left it open. When we went back down, it was shut. So, and we know that when I opened it and I slammed it, it was the same noise that we heard vibrate through the building. And it was such a heavy door, I had to really give it some force to slam it. to make it sound reverb all the way through the building. So, but that was one thing I couldn't explain, because obviously I didn't know who was responsible for slamming that door. It was definitely a spirit that weren't happy with who we were talking to, and probably felt like they were being left out and ignored.
Do you know that place? I've investigated it so many times, and it is one of those where you never know who you're going to meet on the night, spirit-wise, and you just never know what they're going to do. They'll always surprise you. It's just one of those places where...
Well, we had that to start with. I mean, obviously we had other activity as well while we were there. Hi. But whilst we were there, we also captured an amazing, well, I didn't personally capture it. It was one of our guests that was with me in my group, who captured a spirit figure next to one of our team members in the dark cells part of the gallery.
Yes.
And I literally said to her, he's so close. He was standing right close to him because I saw him. And I kept saying to my team member, do be careful, because I knew what he was up to. This spirit wanted to channel. And he was trying to do that through one of my team members. I was really getting quite concerned about, because obviously that's something we like to do in a controlled environment, not in a public event. And I said, nope, that's not happening tonight. You can back off, because it's just never going to happen. And eventually we had another spirit chap who was upstairs above the adjacent room to where the dark cells, just as you go in that front part where they normally have the gallows laid out in the courtyard, we're just inside there, but above, which is all I know is that's all officers up there that belong to the place. Obviously, it's all shut up at night. There's no one around there. And we heard stomping boots, I kid you not, so hard. And it was almost like a distraction. He was distracting me to go out there to see what the noise was, while the other one was trying to get in and use him to channel through. And I'm like, no, this is not happening. We're not comfortable with this. We're going. But she managed to get the image of him. She caught him on camera, which we were really quite pleased about, because I said, well, that validates what I was seeing right next to Mark. It's validation for me, and it shows them that, I was seeing this person as well. So it was a really good capture. Very good.
Yeah, definitely. So what's next for Lynda? What will you be doing? What have you got planned for the rest of this year? I know we got Halloween coming up. Are you planning anything? Are you planning anything for Halloween exciting? Or?
We've got, I think, currently 3 events that are going off during Halloween, which obviously one of them is an overnight sleep. So we'll be staying in a place overnight until the following morning. No sleep's going to be had that time. It didn't happen the last time. So we all look like zombies the next morning. And the owner come down. He says, "Oh, you've just got up." I says, "Got up. We've not been to bed." He's like, "You've been up all night." I'm like, "Yeah, we do." So obviously we're looking forward to going back there. We've also got another place that we've investigated before as well, which again we've got a lot of activity from as well. So we're looking happy to go back there as well for that one in the Halloween. We've got Robin Hood, which is always my favourite place.
Oh, you like that place?
I've probably been investigating that building for nearly enough 5 years in total.
Have you really?
Yeah.
Do you know that place? I must admit, you go in there and you think, oh yeah, you go up and down, and a lot of the things that he was saying was the haunting. We debunked all of it.
Yeah.
Every single bit. He said, this is what happened, the children, blah. We debunked all of it. And then we filmed, and then me and Dan said, oh yeah, we're bored, shall we go? So we left early.
Yeah.
It was only when we went through the cameras and all the film, we didn't see that. We can't explain that. So the haunting that the man tells you about, put it to one side.
Yep.
There's actually something else that's going on that he doesn't know about.
Yeah.
Quite clearly.
Yes.
Which is really not disturbing, but baffling.
Yeah.
Because it's so subtle. And if you have a lot of people there, I don't suppose you're going to notice.
No,
you're going to see it after the fact when it is so subtle. And I said to Dan, I can't explain that. He went, I can't explain that either. And I said, you thought it was a shit night? He said, yeah, I did. I said, in fact, we've got so much that we can't explain. I said, we have to go back and face it. Right. He said, we will do. Definitely. So it's a little box. It's a little Pandora's box. I think once you take that lid off and you peer out underneath that layer that you're fed, there's a whole bunch of other things that's going on in there. It's just amazing. That place is
Well,
amazing.
there is a male spirit in there that I've been communicating with all this time. And the things he's told me are just absolutely phenomenal. You know, he tells me, obviously he's belonged to one particular room in that building, and that's his favorite go-to place. He won't usually, he does roam around the building, but he usually loves to be in there away from people, basically. And he told me about his time period, what he could see out of the window that's in the room when there is absolutely no windows in there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And obviously the time period he comes from as well fits the description of what he sees Nottingham Castle look like.
Yeah.
Castle, just a stone's throw away. Well,
That's
he's
right.
actually shown me what he sees out of that window, and it goes back to the time period this man comes from.
Yeah.
He's also got associations with the Galleries of Justice as well, National Justice Museum.
Yeah.
And well, it told me a fascinating thing that we were quite surprised about. Well, not surprised, but it's always nice to get different things from spirit. You know, it's sort of like an insight into their world, basically. And he was saying that as you come down the stairs to go in towards the gift shop where the front part is, when he comes to a certain point down there, he actually sees our dimension and our time, and he sees things out the window. But when he goes up to the upper level, it's in his time period. So
that's interesting. That's interesting.
It is very interesting, definitely. You know, and I was really, because I said to him, well, you know, can you prove it to me? You know, as in, can I sort of like see it through your eyes instead of you seeing things through mine? And he said, yeah, I'll come down with you. And we did. We walked down. He showed me what it looked like through the window that he was talking about. Yeah. And I could see the castle and I could see what it looked like. And I thought, well, I don't know of anything that looks like that. You know, I'm from Nottingham and I can't remember the castle ever looking like that while I've been alive. So obviously I had to go back and research what time period that castle looked like from, you know, with regards to that. And that's how it backed up the date that he was telling me that he's from. And obviously, as I say, when he came down to look at it from the window, he actually saw obviously cars going by, and he couldn't fathom for the life of him what these things were, because the only thing he remembers as transportation was a horse. And he did have horses as well. You know, the actual building that he had was the stable at the bottom where the gift shop is. That used to be a place that he put his horses in, and then he had the premises above. So, but it's interesting. It doesn't usually like women. It doesn't entertain them usually. It's took me probably 2 years to actually get him to even
gain confidence.
And it's like, all right, you're not going to go away. I better start talking to you, because otherwise you'll be yap all night.
That place is just amazing. I mean, for anyone in the chat that hasn't seen or been, go. You're missing out on a corker there. I mean,
definitely.
You know, go with an open heart. You know, whether you believe or disbelieve, just go with it. Be open to it, and you'll be surprised what you get. You know, even those skeptics that don't believe, you know, just take your camera, take your voice recorder, just enjoy the evening for what it is. But when you get home and you listen and you go through stuff, you'll be absolutely shocked what you pick up. You know, so it's you have to put the work in to get something out of it.
Definitely, absolutely, you do.
I'm going to ask you a personal question, Lynda. How's Mr. Brookes doing after his broken leg fiasco? Is it broken leg? Bless him.
He broke his ankle. He's all good now. He's all recovered. He's all back on his feet. Yeah, he's all good on that one, definitely. It was only not that long ago that my team member Mark had actually done the same thing. Broke his ankle, same place out Derbyshire way, and the same actual ankle as well. Believe it or not. I'm like, stay away from Derbyshire. Just please stay away from there.
Doesn't do things by halves, does he?
Don't do that. And so now they've got the scar club going on.
Oh my God.
Because they've got matching scars.
No, but you do give him our love, don't you? Won't you? Because, you know, bless him. When he broke his, I just thought, I feel so sorry for him, because he's not at home when he did it. He had to go somewhere else.
That's right, he did. He had to go to Stepping Hill Hospital, at Stockport, to get it fixed and pinned and metalled, and everything else done to it to get it to pull together before he could actually start the process of coming out of hospital and recovering at home, you know. So, but yeah, it's all good, thank you.
Oh, bless you. Tell him, don't do it again.
Oh,
Don't
we've
do it
already gone
again.
down that route, definitely. Oh dear, man, eh? They do anything to
It's
put the
funny.
feet up and have us all running around after them.
It's we laugh now, but at the time it is, you do worry about them, and you know,
Oh gosh, yeah. Well, we were sat on a hill. We'd just come down the mountain. We'd actually been up just to have a look at the views, take a few pictures. Then the weather front started coming in all around us. I thought, oh gosh, this ain't good. We need to get off this mountain pretty quick. So obviously we made our way down. We were not that far from the roadway when with it grass being so wet is when his foot slipped and gave way, and that's when he broke it. And we had to sit in the pouring rain for about nearly 3 hours before we got somebody to come and get him off the ground and take him to hospital. Yeah.
Oh,
So yeah, we all sat with him in pouring rain, soaked to the skin. Obviously, he got taken off to the hospital, and we had to make our own way home. So yeah, but yeah, it's one of those things, one of those experiences you just get on with and live through, don't you? So you look back now and laugh about it, how silly it was. But at the time, like you say, it wasn't very funny because
no.
obviously, luckily for him, he wasn't in any pain. You know, that was the main thing we were worried about because,
Yeah,
you know, it's whether he was in a lot of pain with it or not. And also the fact he's diabetic. So obviously, getting it sorted out and put in place properly again quite quickly was a concern with the circulation. But everything's
yeah.
okay with that now. So that's a good
Oh,
thing.
good. Oh, good.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
husbands, eh?
I know.
Husbands, eh?
But regarding the mediumship side of things, on my own side of front, obviously I'm going to be continuing doing what I'm
Good.
doing with the readings, and I'm also starting up to do development trainings for anyone that wants them as well.
Good. Oh,
So, yeah,
well done.
I'm
And
really looking, yeah,
thank
I'm
you.
really, really excited for that because I know there's quite a few people who've been asking me, you know, are you ever going to do anything like that in the future? And if so, I'd love to join you and learn from you, you
Yeah,
know, because a lot of them have got abilities that come on the events. And I'm thinking it's such a shame because I don't know where to go to do what they need to do to actually open them up and develop themselves. And obviously, there are people out there that have gone to in the past which say, oh, we can do that for you. And then they find out they're getting absolutely nothing for it. You know, they go into circles, they don't find that they fit in there either, you know, and,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know, it's everyone's got their own point of call to go to. And I think, you know, at the end of the day, if I can help someone to develop, you know, I'm more than happy
Do
to
it.
do that.
I always say, and you know, when I do it, when I was going through the processes and all the rest of it,
Yeah.
my guide always used to say to me, that's part of the process of giving back to spirit.
Yes.
By teaching somebody else, you're passing on the knowledge.
Yes.
So
Definitely.
that was your way of giving back to spirit. What they give to you, you
Yes.
should give back, and that's their
That's
way
right.
of saying giving back. So I want to say thank you for doing that because that is
Oh,
important.
thank
You
you.
know, it's just
Yeah,
as important as
it
giving
is.
somebody the message that they're looking, or the reading that they're looking
That's
for.
right.
So
And I
thank
think
you
it
for
gives them an opportunity also to be able to have someone see it through. So if they want to put their abilities to the test on an event and they're not sure, they've actually got the person that they're learning from there as a point
yeah,
of reference, you know, and I think that's continuity needed
yeah,
if they're going to go down that route, you know, so that way they get the confidence knowing that what they're either picking up or what they're feeling or sensing, you know, someone can correlate that for them and validate that and give them that clarification that what they're doing is the right thing, and they're not getting mixed messages because they're learning from one person, then going on to an event with somebody else and they're telling them, no, that's not the way to do it. And they're telling them
yeah,
something different completely, which is where the confusion then starts because it's like they don't understand which way is the right way then. You know,
yeah,
everyone's got
yeah,
their own techniques. And I think it's so important that if you're going to learn somebody how to do it, that they keep with that one person because I know so many people that do exactly the opposite. They're dibbing in this, they're dabbing in that, and they're doing this. And then at the end of it, they're so confused. They don't know where they are. They don't know what they are or
yeah,
what they're meant to be doing, you know. So
yeah. That's
the thing
true.
is not to confuse yourself to start with and go and find a mentor that can teach you these things and stick with that one mentor until you've actually seen it all the way through from A to Z.
Yeah,
And
that's
then,
true.
if you're feeling that you've learned enough from that person, then by all means go off and learn someone else. But,
Yeah,
make sure when you start the process, you don't leave it halfway and go off with somebody else, because that's where the mixed messages start kicking in then. And you
exactly.
find out your spirit guides are about as confused as what you are as well.
Oh, tell my spirit guide, he's like having a second dad.
Yeah.
Honestly, he's like, oh, does he tell me off? It's quite funny.
Oh, yes. They do give you a mouthful if they want to, definitely.
Do you find that your relationship with your guide is quite important throughout your main doorkeeper? I mean, you have many guides that come in and
Yes.
out, but your main doorkeeper, the one that matters. They
Yes.
all matter, but
Oh,
this
yes,
one,
definitely. That is the
he's
one.
at the top.
Definitely.
Do you find that now you don't have to tell us if you don't want to, but
Okay.
they have their fun times, and then they have their times when they're really strict, and it's
Yes.
like, no, you will blah 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 blah. Do
Yeah.
you find sometimes like you come away from that lesson and you're thinking about it, but you can't help laughing at the same time? Do you
Yes.
find that it is deep? It's hard to explain it, and I think you would get this.
Yeah.
It is very deep, and it is a lesson that you have to learn, and you
Oh,
you
absolutely.
have to try.
Yes.
But you've got this other side of you, which is your human side, where you just want to sit there and laugh and think, I can't believe that just happened.
Yeah.
Nobody would believe me if I told them.
That's right. Absolutely. And I think it works the other way around as well. At the end of the day, you guys do have a sense of humor as well,
Yeah,
and all the seriousness of it. And often, you can have a real good giggle with them. It's not all serious, and it's not all, get your head down, do the work, do this, learn that. There has got to be some element of downtime where you can have a
yeah,
laugh with them as well. You're building up a relationship with them just the same as you are doing with your friend. So,
yeah,
at the end of the day, they know that you're only human. You're spiritual, but you're in the human reality of
yeah.
things. And obviously, some of them before us will have probably been in exactly the same boat. So some can relate. Others, obviously,
Mm,
at the higher realms, obviously, is a different matter altogether. But certainly, the ones that are guides are often the ones that have had some element of human experience in living. So they
yeah,
understand what it's like to be on the other side of the fence, and they know how stressful life can be. So obviously they like to have a bit of a laugh with you to break that monotonous up and say, look, it's not all straightness and seriousness and stress and worry and anxiety. Have a laugh as well, and have a joke with us, and just share that moment as
yeah,
much as sharing the spiritual element as well.
yeah. I mean, I don't know about you, but do you find that guides get you into some very strange earthly habits? My my thing is I collect feathers. Any feathers. They're horrible feather. I have to put them in my pocket. I have to bring them home. It's
Yeah.
and then you get home, you have all these feathers. It's like dropping them.
I used to be like that. I'm not so bad now. Mine just collect in the back garden. But yeah, I used to be exactly like that. And I then went on to collecting anything with angel wings, feathers or
Right.
angel wings, ornaments, things like that. Then it went from that to collecting candles. I had to have loads of candles. Then it went from that to incense. I'm like, gosh, what is going on? I feel like an absolute hoarder here. I'm having all this, and I don't know why I want it or I need it, because I don't. And it was just their way of saying, look, whenever you see these things, think of us. If you
Yeah.
think that we're not here at any point in time,
Okay.
we are here. And I mean, that was very much in the early stages. I mean, obviously, I've evolved a lot since then, so I know that they're always with me. But at that point, when I was sort of like trying to up level myself, and obviously connect more to other guides, as you say, you've
Mm.
not just got one, you've got
Yeah.
several. And they will always dip in and out of your life whenever you need to learn
Mm.
something, or whether you're evolving or you're leveling up. You'll always find that you'll have another guide that will step forward that either you haven't met or you haven't met in a while, and all of a sudden they've come back again. It's almost like, hold on a minute, where'd you come from? I ain't seen you in months. But
Yeah.
obviously they've all got their own lesson to deliver and their own thing that they need you to learn from. So, but yeah, it's strange how they get you to get your attention as well when you're first learning mediumship or any sort of psychic development. You know, they'll send the little signs like the penny will just drop out of nowhere at your feet, or a feather will just float out of thin air inside your room, or, you know, when you've got no windows or doors open, these things just happen to it's sort of like come from nowhere and they're just there. And it's sort of like whenever you ask for a sign, that's usually what they will give you, you know, is something that, you know, is relating to your guides, you know, or your loved ones in some cases as well.
Lynda, if people wanted to get in contact with you, where could they find you? If they wanted to speak to you or book a reading with you, what's the best way of doing it?
The best way probably at this moment in time would be through the Brookes Paranormal website, which is www.brookesparanormal.co.uk.
Brookes Paranormal. I'm writing this down in the chat. www.brookesparanormal.co.uk.
Yeah, and obviously the Brookes with the A.
Brookes with an E, yeah?
Yeah.
Good. I've got that E in.
Yeah. I've actually got a few things that are ready to near enough go, because obviously I'm trying to separate the paranormal side to the mediumship side, albeit eventually they will come together, but we're not at that stage yet. I think it's better to keep them apart. Because obviously we get so many influx to do with people who have got activity in their home or anything else. So our BP page just goes crazy. It's every other day you get bombarded with messages from people like saying, I've got something going off in my house. What is it? Can you come and have a look? You know, and obviously that side of it will continue to go on as long with the mediumistic and the development side of it as well, because I think it's quite important, you know, that both do. You know, a lot of people try and think, oh well, I don't think I need that in my life anymore, I'd rather just stick with this, which is, you know, okay for some, but I just love the both, you know. That just, and I always said to Derek ages ago, I don't think I'll ever be able to choose, because I love them both with so much passion, you know, and they're always there in my heart, the paranormal and the mediumistic side of things, you know, they go hand in hand. So I just don't think I'll ever be able to separate myself from one to the other. You know, I'm going to be there all the time with both.
Just like I did. Good for you. Good
absolutely.
for you, Lynda.
Yes. This is it. I mean, like you say, they need people like us in the world.
Definitely.
You know, definitely, because you know, there's so many people that come and go in the paranormal world as well, you know, probably come out with good intentions, but at the end of the day, they don't usually last the landings part, do they? You know, they're sort of like here today and gone tomorrow, unfortunately, and there's so much of it, you know. And I think it's nice for people that have a steady place or a group or a team that they can go to and they can trust and build that relationship up with, and know that they're always there whenever they want to go out on a ghost hunt, you know. So there's quite a few of us, hopefully there is quite a few of us out there that they can turn to, you know. I'm sure that there is more good than bad, you know. So I know that there are bad ones, but there are thankfully the minority and not the majority. So that's the way it wants to stay as well.
Well, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for inviting me.
I want to get you back on, if that's all right, at some point.
Absolutely. I was going to say, we've got so much to talk about. We haven't really touched the surface tonight, have we?
The day we get together, I think we need to meet up for a coffee somewhere and get it out of the way first.
Yeah, definitely.
Don't go anywhere. Stay where you are for a minute.
Okay,
I just want to thank everybody in the chat. I think on Friday, the Friday Night Frighteners will be back at 8:00. On Tuesday, we have the Mysterious Worlds with Paul Rook. Wednesday nights, as you know, is Simply Spooky, and I think Monday there's going to be nothing that's broadcast at all through the Simply Spooky network on Monday. So with respects to our late queen, our late monarch, and we wish her a safe journey, but we wish the family lots and lots of healing when they get through that difficult day on Monday. With that all being said, I want you all to take care of yourselves. Hopefully Dan will be back alive and kicking on Friday. If not, we will just send him some healing and hope he gets well soon. Take care, everyone, and be kind to each other. Whatever is going on in your life, don't take it out on others. Bye, everyone.